Hello, this is Derek Fournier with Plainside Strategy Group and another video blog for our website as we continue to try and break down some of the pieces and parts of what we're going to be releasing known as the T-Suite, which are a number of core sort of basic blocking and tackling techniques that I think are critical for people to succeed, whether it be as an individual contributor or as a manager, whether it be personal or business. I think these are very important fundamentals that everyone needs to sort of master. And the one we're going to talk about today is called thankfulness. And this may sound very touchy-feely, and maybe it's the holidays getting to me. Anyone who's been on my teams knows that over the holidays I typically would send out some sort of a mushy email, as I would call it, because I'm typically not necessarily wired that way. But the holidays bring out the urge to be thankful, I think, in all of us. I think we're kind of led down that direction with the way the holidays are structured in general. But I think that one of the things that's sort of kind of come to light for me over the last couple of years, I didn't necessarily know it explicitly in the past, I just sort of did pieces and parts of it, and not very well, was how important being thankful or being grateful was. And a recent article in Wall Street Journal, and the link is actually in the article above, I think it may be subscription required, but it's like $10, guys, it's Wall Street Journal, for God's sakes, says, there's one thing that could lead, and here's the lead-in I was going to do if I actually read a script. What if I told you one thing that you added to your daily life could lead to more energy, more optimism, more social connections, more happiness. You could also be less depressed, somewhat obviously, for the first set, less envious, less greedy, and less likely to be an alcoholic. It could lead to increased income, better sleep, and lead to have you exercise more, and increase your resistance to viral infection. The one thing that they're talking about is being grateful. Now, I'm going to extend that to the word thankful, partially because it matches my alliteration in the T-Suite, but partially because I think being grateful and being thankful are almost synonymous in the way that I'm going to talk about it. And the intro and the lead into this article is what a trucker taught me about being thankful. Now, a couple years ago, I lost a very dear friend to cancer, and I think that what you'll find is most everybody you know, including yourself, could probably have a story very much like this. My friend Brady was an amazing person. I didn't realize how much I learned about life from him until he passed away. And what that triggered me to do is try and find a way to become more active and help more around cancer. I think, like many people, I donated to a number of different charities, but I wasn't actually active. I didn't have my sort of heart in it, as it were. I had my checkbook in it, which is a great start, mind you, but not where you need to go. So I went out to try and find something that I could get excited about and get involved in, and what I found was this thing called the Movember movement. There's a link to that as well in the video or in the blog above. What this was a movement started in Australia about 8 years ago to drive awareness about prostate and testicular cancer. 1 in 6 men are going to be diagnosed with this. It's another one of these cancers that, when diagnosed early, is imminently treatable, and yet because we're afraid to talk about it, men are dying daily because of it, and that's just horrific. So the way they decided to go about it was to try and kitsch it up a little bit. So they created the Movember movement, where they take the month of November and have guys grow mustaches and raise money the same way you would for a cancer walk or anything to that effect. They get women involved as most sisters, and they really kind of make it, I'm going to use the word spectacle in a positive light here. Well, it was a really good experience for me. It got me involved the first year. Didn't raise a whole lot of money, but really kind of got involved and felt like I had done something. This year, as I've formed the new company and trying to get out there more, I tried to be a little bit more active about it. I got some friends involved. I started talking to some friends over at TMR Agency, and got those guys involved. And I grew what was called the trucker mustache my first year, which is hence the title to the video blog. And that's a mustache that kind of goes all the way around. It is a very noticeable change for facial hair. Now, I used to have a goatee all the time, but the trucker is a particular style. What was funny is when the guys at TMR heard about this, they were a little bit reluctant at first, because if you don't have a mustache, sometimes that can be awkward and you're going to look a little bit strange. But the more we talked about it, the more we found out that we had mutual friends and family that had passed away from cancer, the more involved they got. And these guys jumped into it with both feet. And a number of people decided to grow the trucker as well, because it really is sort of a statement that you're getting into this. And what it kind of taught me was that these people were just as passionate, that they had lost people that they cared about. And the reason that's important is because that's sort of the far end of the spectrum that triggers you to realize that you have to spend time every day being thankful. Now, if we use that and back it up towards everyday life, just stopping and thinking about how many times someone who's done something nice has gone above and beyond the call of duty. We are very quick as people, and I am a huge offender of this, believe me. I am a cynic by nature, but cynicism is really kind of lazy. It's very easy to be a cynic. It's a lot more difficult to be positive. And I'm not saying you have to have a hand-holding and kumbaya session, as I mentioned above in the blog, but you do need to take as much time out of your life to thank people for the things that they do that impress you, that are amazing, that are helpful, that are warm, that are caring, as you do to gripe about poor service in a restaurant or the bad parking spot that you got or the fact that the television sucks, right? It's amazing how much time we will spend on the negative and how little time we'll spend on the positive. And I think as part of the basic blocking and tackling of being successful, we've got to get better about bringing out that grateful side, bringing out that thankful side. There's a study in that Wall Street Journal article, and I won't go through the whole thing, where they essentially take a large sample set and have a third of them at the end of every day write 5 things they were grateful about, a third of them write things that they were annoyed by, and a third of them do nothing. And there is a statistically significant number of improvements from health, well-being, etc., in the group that actually took the time just to list 5 things that they were grateful for or thankful for. And you may even remember doing this as a kid, kind of counting your blessings, as it were, not to bring in any sort of a religious overtone. So at any rate, this was kind of an aha moment for me when I thought about this, and I want to bring it to you guys in a video blog. Again, I know it's a little touchy-feely for a business-focused blog, but I think it's important. I think that so often we ignore the soft skills, and I think when you're building a team, and that's really one of the things we talk about regularly, is when you're building a team, to make sure that they know that you genuinely do care about them. And if you don't genuinely care about them, you need to look in the mirror, because that's a problem. Just like when we talk about doing your public presentations and speeches, you've got to have passion. If you don't have passion, care, concern, you're probably in the wrong game. So, questions I have for you moving forward: do you find yourself being cynical and covering up by saying you're a realist? I know I've done that for the better part of 2 decades, and it's absolutely horrible. Do you actually take the time to genuinely thank people? If not, I'd like you to try and incorporate that in what you do, because I'm going to try and do it more often. I don't do it enough, and it's something that the holiday seasons always make me remember. It's almost like a New Year's resolution, and then it drifts off by March around my birthday, and I've got to try and get better about that. And the last question is, can you remember actually going out of your way to give someone positive feedback? And in the article, they talk about what's called a gratitude visit for children, and it's amazing how many things that children do that we kind of write off like we've outgrown them. And a gratitude visit is really an explicit attempt to tell someone that they did something that was impressive to you in one way, shape, or form. Either they helped you or they made you realize something. Taking that move, at least in the study, showed effects 2 months after the fact, positive effects on the people that did them. So I think it's something to try and incorporate in your daily life, is to try and be a little more positive. I know that regularly I hear people say, well, I got really bad service and I complained to the manager, and I rarely hear them talk about the great service that they had, and I refuse to believe that it's because there is no great service out there. So I would encourage you to, instead of being so focused on what's wrong and what's going wrong in a day, to take a little bit more time to look at the positive side of things. And Monty Python style, always look on the bright side of life, but don't look too much on the bright side of life, because then you become annoying. You've got to pick and choose your spots, and really make that gratefulness or that thankfulness come across and be genuine, because that's when it really has the power. So thanks for listening to the video blog. Hopefully it was useful. I know I ramble a little bit, but I like this format, and I think it's something you guys can digest quickly and move on to something else in your day. So good luck, and I will see you back at plain-sight.net.